Motion to, meeting of the Scituate Board of Health, Monday, August 27th, Selectmen Chamber, Town Hall, 6 PM. Make a motion?
A motion.
Yep.
Make a motion to open the meeting. Make a motion to open the meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, scheduled items. Discuss and vote non-compliance of failed septic system, 17 Ocean Ave, Murphy. Anyone's here?
Doesn't appear to be. So, we received a septic repair plan in April of 2016 for this property located in Minot. It has an existing cesspool that had discharged to the ground surface. Therefore, they hired an engineer to design a repair. Submitted it in April, but never finalized the repair plan. Therefore, I sent them a letter dated June 27th, 2017, for which they signed for in July of 2017, giving them 1 year to upgrade the system. So they had essentially that initial year when it was in failure, and were working through a design prior to my sending them a letter in 2017. The owner came in within the last 2 months asking what his options were, knowing that the deadline was coming, and I told him that, in typical, protocol for us is to provide 1 year for an upgrade or repair, so he needed to complete that plan and get it in motion. He doesn't believe that his system is in failure, so I also gave him the option to reach out to a Title V inspector and submit documentation contrary to our known observations of being in failure, which we have not received. We have not heard from him since, and that is why it's before you now.
So both of those letters, we never heard back from. It was before these letters went out, is when he was last name.
Nope, so I sent the letter on June 27th, 2017. One of the two owners signed for it July 13 of 2017. Didn't hear anything since until about 2 months ago, as this 1 year deadline was approaching. The gentleman of the pair who owned the house was in, and he was the one asking what the options would be, knowing that the deadline was coming. Since he was in my office, we haven't received any movement on a repair plan or anything else.
So I would say that we send another one and put it for the next meeting.
Okay.
I mean, that would, I don't know.
So they didn't sign for the last meeting. So the letter that I sent July 19th, 2018, indicating that, yep, identifying that there was this meeting, and that if they didn't finalize the plan, then this meeting would occur tonight. That letter was not signed for. It was returned to us unaccepted. We received it on August 17th. So then my suggestion would be we have them hand served.
Okay.
So we can do that.
Now, if we have them hand served, we probably couldn't put them on until the second meeting in September.
It probably makes
With
the
the
most
holidays.
sense. It probably makes the most sense
So,
to give them a second. If you're going to give them a second
Yeah.
opportunity, then it would be the September 10th plus 2 weeks.
so the 10th is a Monday, so it'll be the 24th.
Okay. All right. So send letter, hand served. 9/24 meeting. So it'll be a second opportunity. So do you want to make a motion to that effect?
So make a motion to.
Make a motion to hand over a notice of acceptance discuss?
Okay,
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Discuss and vote private well, 10 Grasshopper Lane, Caesar. Homeowner requesting a variance of the town of Scituate private well regulations. How are ya?
Pretty good. How are you folks?
Good. You want to just come up, state your name?
Good evening. I'm Mark Caesar, Grasshopper Lane.
So you did some homework.
I did, yes. And I gave you a summary sheet. I delivered that this past Thursday to Jen, so she'd have time to look things over. As you know, as of the last meeting, we left it, you requested that I seek information on filtration systems to look at that as an option. And I did that. I also felt it would be a good idea to contact Mass DEP and ask them the same question for advice on filtration. And they were nice enough to reply right away, which I thought was really good to see them respond so quickly. But they both all concur, essentially, that both the professional filtration companies and Mass DEP, that filtering sodium at, essentially, it's at a high flow rate is not a practical solution at all. It's due primarily to the fact of it's a high reject rate of, it's for flow, high flow, it's not a good solution, as opposed to a low flow, which we're not talking about here. We're talking about high flow because it's from a pump, from a well, and therefore it's high flow. So the reject rate, I learned that, this is news to me, that basically only 20% of what goes through the filter ends up being treated. The other 80% of it is rejected and has to be discharged, and it's at a much higher sodium. So in essence, for a large volume system, I did get prices which are very, very, very expensive, but it's sort of a white elephant that the system looks like. You have to have a very large storage tank as you filter to hold, say, 1,000 gallons, because your need is for flow of 12 gallons per minute for approximately 1 to 2 hours. That's what generates the volume of the size of the tank. And then you would actually also have to discharge that 8 times as much of that. So you would be, for every 1,000 gallons of water treated, you'd only end up with approximately 200 gallons of water treated and 800 gallons of water that would be discharged at a higher concentration of sodium. So the volume of that would have to go into a well underground of some sort, and it would be brought back into the groundwater. So it doesn't make sense. It could be built, but it doesn't make, it's not practical.
Right.
I also gave, Joe Cerruti of Mass DEP, he is with Water Resources Drinking Water Program, and I gave him all of my water samples for him to review and comment on whether it would, in his opinion, it would be suitable for drinking water, and also would it be any harm to the environment. And he responded to say that it would be absolutely fine with this level of sodium, and then he furthermore said that most communities, most municipality drinking water has sodium content above the 20 milligram parameter that I'm trying to get the variance on. And then And then I followed up with that. I did quite a few web searches to the, South Shore communities, and I enclosed that. And then I did a few more today. I did Abington, Weymouth, Hingham, Norwell, Duxbury, and Hanover, and they're all they range between 50 and 120. It's, average 65 milligrams, where it goes back to the 20 milligrams is really dedicated solely to that very small percentage of the population that cannot consume salt. And so, that speaks for itself, that the town's drinking water data concludes that. So with that, I felt that at this point, I think that I've satisfied the variance requirement to prove that my variance will have no ill effect on public health or the environment. I guess that's about all I have at this time.
Okay. Did you have any more on that, or?
So I reviewed the packet of information provided, and I was actually very grateful to see Joe Cerruti's input, because he is the person at DEP that provided us guidance along the way for developing the regulations and, keeping us in tune with the proposed updates to the state guidelines. So I found his always timely response to be very important and very appreciated. So given the host of information provided, I wouldn't have any concerns supporting Mr. Caesar's request.
Okay. Would we go with just the one with sodium only, or put any limitations or anything? Or probably not, right?
So I don't think there's any, particular limitations. I just provided that to you as an option if there was something that you were concerned about when you either were thinking about this as a whole from the last meeting or reviewing the package. So I gave that to you as an option, but it would be for granting it for sodium only, which is
right
in every version of the draft I provided.
Mm-hmm.
I make a move to grant the requested variance from the water quality requirements of the town of Scituate private well regulation for sodium only.
Second?
Oh,
Oh, you gotta
read the rest.
The variance is granted with the following condition.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. That was the one before.
That's not
Yeah, just read that.
Move to grant the requested variance from the water quality requirements of the town of Scituate private well regulations for sodium only. The variance may be revoked or suspended in accordance with the regulation if conditions change.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for looking into all those things.
Well, it was a pleasure. It's
Maybe.
well,
It is now?
Yeah, it is now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So I will be in touch with you about final paperwork and all that stuff.
Okay.
Through email,
Very
so
good.
you can square
Yeah.
away.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night. All right. Discuss and vote non-compliance of field septic system 1 Tilden Ave, power. And I don't see anyone here.
No one is here. You have it, Wendy? You also? Okay. So this residence has been before the board a couple of times when the makeup of the board was slightly different. As a refresher, the system serving this property, which is located off of Glades Road, consists of essentially a 55-gallon drum beneath the ground surface acting as a cesspool. I've been trying to achieve compliance with the folks at this residence since 2015. If you recall Doug, and as a introduction, Wendy, the occupant is one of several family members who either had or has collective ownership with one as a trustee / power of attorney. There's some, at the time of the last meeting when we had the occupant present, there was some inconsistencies as to understanding as to whether he was an owner still or not. So part of his responsibility was to determine or to rectify the ownership situation, so we knew whether he was an occupant or an owner-occupant, and therefore one of the responsible parties, or essentially a tenant in a situation such as this. So the last time the case was before the board, you had voted as follows. The owner must submit a proposed septic system design plan to the Board of Health for review within 45 days of the hearing. That hearing occurred on March 26, 2018. Upon the conclusion of the Board of Health review and issuance of the associated septic system construction permit, the owner is required to have the proposed system installed within 45 days by an installer licensed by the town of Scituate. Thus, the owner has a total of 90 days from the date of today's hearing, that was March 26th, excluding Board of Health review period, to bring the septic system serving the dwelling at 1 Tilden Ave into compliance with 310 CMR 15 State Environmental Code Title V. If the schedule is not met, the Board of Health may initiate enforcement actions. So that 90-day period plus some has passed. We have not received a plan. We have not received any communication. We have sent many letters, an initial letter on August 31st, 2015, which was signed for, a letter to the owner, 12/11/15, also signed for, letter to the owner dated 8/17/18, which was not signed for, I'm sorry, 8/17/17. Letter to the owner and occupant by a constable on 12/18/17, which was signed for. We have the return of service in your package. Subsequent letter to owner and occupant on January 24th, 2018, which was signed for. March 27th, 2018, which was signed for. And July 31st, 2018, signed for. So they're well aware of this meeting tonight, all of the requirements that they have been subject to that they have not met. So it's my recommendation to you that you move towards condemnation hearing,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I move to schedule a hearing on September 24th, 2018 to determine if the dwelling at 1 Tilden Avenue is unfit for human habitation that may result in a condemnation order in accordance with 105 CMR 410.000, the State Sanitary Code, Chapter 2.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, does that have to be answered?
We'll hand serve it.
Okay, discuss and vote Massachusetts State Sanitation Code, Chapter 2, violations, 32 Turner Road, Gazlo. John.
Yep, the Galuzzo, I think,
Galuzzo.
I believe. Hopefully I didn't
Galuzzo.
butcher that.
Okay.
So, sorry,
No one's here.
is here. So we've sent 2 letters to the homeowners, one in May and then one again in July, documenting that it's a minor violation. There are multiple rubbish containers that are overflowing with garbage and rubbish, sitting on the side of the property. They're not properly covered. They have not been removed since at least, May 26th, when we first, had it brought to our attention. So, I mean, it's certainly not the largest violation that has come before you, but we have tried to reach out to the homeowners to get them to properly store their garbage and rubbish, because obviously improperly stored garbage and rubbish can create all sorts of nuisance conditions, can attract rodents and other pests, leading to concerns for not only that property, but all of the others around it. So we have attempted to reach out to the homeowners. They signed for the first letter. They have not signed for the second. So they are well aware of what our concerns are, but have not done anything to address them.
Okay.
I make a motion to order the homeowners or occupants to remove the existing garbage and rubbish from the property within 24 hours and to properly store garbage and rubbish in secured containers at all times.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll answer that too.
Guys gonna be busy. All right. Director's report.
So we'll start with food. There were 6 inspections conducted, including 2 re-inspections between July 22nd and July 24th. Critical violations included food not being maintained at the proper temperature or the equipment not maintaining proper temperatures, dirty ice machines, and dirty meat slicers, deli slicers. We also conducted permitting and inspections last week at a larger temporary food event, which was South Shore Pier Recovery Rocks event at Bullman Marine. So we worked on that and went and did those inspections on Thursday night. We have 3 nuisance cases, which is 1 more since the last time we met. It includes the one that we just briefly spoke about on Turner Road. We are very busy with private wells right now. We currently have 24 as of today, applications being reviewed in some stage or another, whether it be applications to install or applications for their certificate of compliance after installation. Swimming pool season is winding down. We're awaiting 1 set of lab reports from August. We have 1 year-round pool that we'll continue to follow up with, but we're in the process of finding out when each pool closes for the season so that we can take it off of our inspection list. Beach season is also winding down despite the 100-degree weather that we're anticipating this week. The last round of sampling will occur tomorrow, with those results being received on Wednesday. So assuming that those results come back below acceptable levels, that will be the last set of sampling done for the season. If any of the beaches comes back with an elevated bacteria level, we'll sample up to and including Friday to try to get the beach open. Otherwise, it would remain closed through Labor Day, which is the end of sampling season. We have 3 housing cases right now that are active, which is unchanged. Septic systems, we're currently working on 2 plans submitted since August 1st, 1 revised plan submitted since August 20th, and 1 certificate of compliance received today. I think I issued approximately 10 permits today for various septic systems, whether it be a bunch of abandonments or permits to install. So it's been busy. We have 1 outstanding operation and maintenance repair, which is unchanged from the last time we met. I've reached out to the maintenance company to get an update on that, but have yet to hear back. And then we have 2 outstanding operations and maintenance contracts, one less than the last time we met, but one which has exceeded its deadline, so we'll be reaching out to them again. We have 1 failed system that's been upgraded since the last meeting, but we're awaiting the as-built plan so that we can issue the certificate of compliance. And a second failed system is being repaired / installed as of today. So a couple are moving in the right direction. That's all I got.
Okay. Awesome. And discuss septic betterment program.
So since the last meeting, I'm gonna turn this over to Joan because she did all of the hard work since the last meeting, so I figured she could give you a brief introduction to what she was able to do.
Okay, so in your packet, you'll see question pages that we had broken down by who we wanted to ask what questions to. So I started with the state. You see some of the responses and questions, your questions that you were asking. You can review those. If you have any other questions.
That was the ones that you sent that had the red, right?
Right. Right. It's in the it's in your packet in the tab. It's right in the introduction. You see it?
It's this one?
Yeah. think you did a great job.
Yeah. So,
Detailed.
good Lord.
And the other packet is just the applicant, from your comments on the last meeting, we updated some of the applications pieces.
Okay. All the checklists and stuff.
And the plan forward, unless you all have other thoughts, the plan forward would be to finish up figuring out the answers to all of the questions with the treasurer collector and the assessor's office, and then pull all that together and try to finalize forms.
The only question I have is about the betterment not being able to be rolled over, because it is like with sewer betterment or a sidewalk betterment, they can be rolled over, so I don't know why it can't be. You know, I saw that it says that it has to be paid off, so the second one, 2, 3 pages from the last. Board of Health. Board of Health town to determine who transfer to the new homeowner. I don't know, how is that different than the other betterments?
No, we can send them out together when they do not.
No, a lot of mortgages won't allow it to be included because it's considered a municipal lien, but a lot of times you have people who, as part of the negotiation, will split it, or the owner just pays it, So, that's the only one that I know about.
And that's part of the treasurer, right? Makes
So,
that decision.
so the treasurer collector will provide input. The Jones conversation with the state was that they strongly don't recommend it. They said that no other town that he's aware of does that. So we just provided the guidance that he had from his experience, right?
Well, I mean, are we, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, are we able to make a Scituate exclusive determination on that?
Well, we can ask the treasurer collector, because now we're gonna be going to the other departments and ask them their questions,
Yeah.
so we can have that as a question.
It's done. And then I didn't see anything about being a blind selection.
So those that wasn't a question.
Okay.
That was something
That
that you
was
had
on
all
these.
decided that you
I
wanted.
think it was
Yeah,
on
That
it.
was from the last
So-
time we had the betterment program,
Yeah.
that was the way they had done it here.
Yeah, I saw that there doesn't need to be, like, they don't have to submit their taxes or anything. There's not that, yeah.
And then the forms and,
Yeah, so the grading system, if you will, or
Yeah.
priority checklist, that's in there. We didn't put it on the question list because you were all in agreement with how you wanted to proceed in terms of using the blind assessment with the ranking sheet. That's what I was trying to come up with.
right.
Yeah.
I think I didn't have anything else. So I guess the next would be go to the other town departments?
Yep, so Joan's gonna work with the other town departments
They've
to,
already they've been working on their piece already.
Okay.
we just are far enough along with them to provide you with any cohesive feedback.
Yeah, ton of progress in a short period of time.
All right. Invoice, do you have anything to add? Do you have anything you want to say? Okay. Administration invoice approvals.
Just that one?
Mr. Ralph. And then on the meeting impedance, we won't be able to
Correct.
do
That's right, because they are.
So we'll have to move to next meeting. Meeting.
Yes.
Reason why it's proposed is because, it was the interest is steep.
Yeah.
So,
I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.